Seattle consistently ranks as one of the most desirable places to live in the country, and honestly, it has earned that reputation. Between the scenery, the lifestyle, the job market, and the culture, it definitely checks off a lot of those boxes for people. But I will be the first to let you know, there are definitely some things about Seattle that don't always make the best places to live list, and those are some things that you need to be aware of before you make the move here.
If we haven't met yet, my name is Keri Konicke. I am a local real estate expert here in Seattle, Washington. I've lived here a majority of my life and have in fact lived in 4 different Seattle suburbs. So I love being able to share firsthand insight with people just like you are thinking about making that move here to Seattle, Washington, to the Seattle area, or maybe the greater east side. So if this is your first time on my channel and you want to know all there is about living in Seattle, what it's like here, the surrounding suburbs, from neighborhoods to commute realities to pricing and lifestyle, make sure you subscribe so you can follow along and be up to date on the current market here and all that's happening here in Seattle, Washington. And if you're actively considering making a move, check out the description below. All of my contact information is there for you. Whether you're moving in 9 days, maybe 9 months, from across the world or just across town, I'm here to make your move seamless and exactly what you want it to be.
All right, let's start with the obvious one. Seattle is expensive, especially when it comes to housing. The median home price in Seattle sits between $850,000 to $900,000 range, and many of those popular neighborhoods are actually pushing well beyond that. And it's not just the price of the home, it's property taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance. It all can add up quickly. Now, on the good side, Washington State does not have state income tax, which helps especially those higher income earners and even dual income households, but that doesn't magically make housing more affordable here. And here's what surprises a lot of buyers: even when the market cools, prices don't necessarily drop dramatically. Seattle tends to be more of a flatten out market versus a crash market. So waiting on the sidelines, hoping for this massive discount really doesn't always pan out or play out the way people expect it to. This is why having a local expert here that understands the nuances of Seattle can help make a huge difference for you. First, we focus heavily on buying smart, not just buying fast. So that starts with location strategy. In Seattle, value can change literally from street to street. So you could have 2 homes that are just a block apart and they can be completely priced differently. It's just going to be dependent on the zones, maybe the school assignments, parking access, future development plans, or even just which side of the street you live on. So I help buyers figure out and identify those pockets that still offer that long-term appreciation without paying the absolute premium price. Second, we look at neighborhood trajectory, not just today's price. So some areas are already fully priced in, while others are quietly improving with better infrastructure. Maybe transit access is improving, or even new amenities are coming into play. So buying slightly ahead of the curve can save hundreds of thousands of dollars over time, still giving you that strong resale value. Third, we get strategic with the type of home. A lot of buyers assume that they need a perfectly, fully remodeled, beautiful house, and that's where you're gonna find yourself overpaying. So sometimes the smartest move is finding a solid home. We make sure that it's got the great bones, where you can do some cosmetic updates and just add that instant equity. And then there's other times that maybe you're just starting out with a townhouse, a condo, or even a smaller single family property that fits your lifestyle now, but also builds that stepping stone for your future home. We also take a close look at the true cost of ownership here. I walk all of my buyers through realistic monthly numbers. We don't just look at the mortgage, you're also gonna be taking a look at your taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance, so that there are no huge surprises come closing day. In Seattle, having that clarity is definitely important. And finally, I help buyers understand timing and negotiation. Seattle doesn't necessarily crash, but opportunities are still going to exist. You're still going to see price reductions, mispriced homes, maybe even homes that never showed well online, or maybe even a seller who needs more flexibility over that top dollar. So knowing where to look and how to write a very smart offer is definitely key. So yes, Seattle's expensive, but with the right strategy, the right neighborhood, and the right guidance, buyers can still make incredibly smart long-term moves here. All right, I'm gonna be popping back and forth between these pros and cons, so let's start with pro number 1. Now let's talk about why people keep moving here anyways. Seattle has one of the strongest, most resilient job markets in the country, especially in the tech industry, healthcare, aerospace, biotech, and professional services. You've got major employers like Amazon, which is headquartered right in downtown Seattle and South Lake Union. You have Microsoft, which is based in Redmond, which is just east of Seattle. Google has a large presence in South Lake Union, Fremont, and Kirkland. And then Meta is primarily in Bellevue with additional offices surrounding the east side area. And then of course we have Boeing, which has a major footprint in Everett, Renton, and the greater Puget Sound area. On top of that, there is a huge startup innovation ecosystem surrounding these companies, which creates long-term economic stability. So even when the national market is a little bit shaky, Seattle tends to hold up a little bit stronger than most cities because it's driven by multiple industries, not just one. A lot of people relocate here for work and then stay because the career growth here is real. There is so much room for advancement without constantly having to hop city to city. And that kind of stability really makes it easy for people to put down roots, buy a home, and think long term. And even if you're fully remote, Seattle is still a huge draw. You're getting strong infrastructure, major airports, global business access, and a lifestyle that blends opportunity with quality of life, which we'll get into a little bit later. But we have beautiful mountains, water, walkable neighborhoods, just a really strong sense of community here. And that combination of opportunity and livability is a big reason why people come here and why many people don't want to leave. Seattle traffic is a thing because of the water, the bridges, the hills, and fairly limited freeway system. There are natural bottlenecks that are going to be built into the city. You have your lakes, your bays, waterways that make Seattle so beautiful, but they also mean you can't just take a straight shot from point A to point B. So you might look at a map and say, oh wow, that's only 6 miles away, but during peak hours, that can easily turn into a 30 to 45-minute drive, especially if you're crossing a bridge or heading in and out of the major employment hubs. Now the upside is that Seattle traffic usually moves. It's not constant all-day gridlock like larger cities, but here timing matters more than distance. When you leave and where you're going can make or break your commute. So this is why where you live in relation to your work, your school, or even your daily routines is incredibly important. So two neighborhoods that seem close on a map can feel completely different in real life. The good news is Seattle is actively investing in public transportation, light rail continues to expand, connecting more neighborhoods and making commuting without a car more realistic than ever. And many areas are extremely walkable, which can dramatically reduce how often you even need to drive. So once you understand Seattle's geography, the traffic patterns, it becomes much more easier to choose a neighborhood that actually fits your lifestyle. So not just one that looks good on a map. One of Seattle's biggest strengths is how different each of the neighborhoods feel. And I mean, they feel different from neighborhood to neighborhood. You've got urban walkable neighborhoods like Capitol Hill, Queen Anne, and Ballard, where you can go from a coffee shop to a restaurant. You have your nightlife and just different events happening all the time. So you just feel very plugged into the city. And then you have more family-friendly areas where that's gonna be more like Green Lake, Wallingford, and Magnolia, where streets feel more calmer, quieter, homes have more space, and just your daily life often revolves around parks, trails, and neighborhood routines without feeling completely removed from the city. Seattle also offers huge range of waterfront and view-driven living. So homes overlooking Lake Washington, Puget Sound, Lake Union, or even downtown skyline and mountains. Those views aren't just pretty, they hold long-term value, creating completely different living experiences. And what a lot of people don't realize is how many quiet residential pockets exist just minutes from that city energy. You can be on a calm tree-lined street, but then also just a short drive or even walk to a major hub. This is something Seattle does exceptionally well. Seattle really lets you choose your lifestyle. So whether you're wanting that full city vibe or maybe an outdoor focused routine or something comfortably in between, there is a neighborhood that fits. And because Seattle is broken into many district neighborhoods, you're not locked into one Seattle experience. You get to choose what maybe aligns with your life right now, but then also what makes sense for you later on down the road. Let's clear this up. Seattle does not rain all day every day, but it is gray a good portion of the year. And that's the part that surprises the people the most. From about November to March, you can expect overcast skies, shorter days, maybe light drizzle. It's not typically a heavy downpour rain. It's more of like persistent gray that can affect people more than they anticipate, especially if you're coming from a place that has more of a sunny climate. And I'll say this as we are literally experiencing an atmospheric river right now. Luckily, where I'm located, I haven't seen the worst of it firsthand, but if Seattle deals with one thing, it's definitely not a lack of water. Rain is part of our life here, and sometimes we get big weather systems that roll through. The key difference is that most of the time it's manageable, not constant downpours, but consistent moisture and cloud cover that shapes the landscape and lifestyle here. Now here's the flip side, and it's a big one. Seattle summers are absolutely incredible. From late June through September, you get mild temperatures, very low humidity, and long daylight hours. We're talking sunsets around 9:30 or even 10 p.m. at night. People are outside constantly, patios are packed, parks are full, and the entire city feels alive. It's also why locals plan their lives around summer here. Hiking, boating, festivals, lake days, you name it. Most people will tell you summers alone make the gray months completely worth it. Once you live here long enough, you realize Seattle isn't about perfect weather year-round. It's about balance. We got cozy winters, unbelievable summers, and just a lifestyle that adapts to both. Washington's lack of state income tax is a major financial advantage, especially for higher earners, business owners, and even those dual income households. For many buyers relocating from states like California or even New York, this can mean saving tens of thousands of dollars every single year. And that extra money doesn't just disappear, it can directly impact your buying power, your monthly comfort, and even your long-term plans. Yes, Washington has higher sales tax, and yes, housing costs can be significantly higher, but when you zoom out and you look at the full financial picture, the absence of that state income tax often helps offset those costs in a very real way. From a buyer's perspective, this can mean a few important things. It may allow you to comfortably qualify for a higher price point without stretching yourself. It can free up cash so you can do things like renovation, maybe furnishing, or even traveling, or maybe some future investments. And then for business owners or commission-based earners, it adds a level of predictability that's hard to ignore. This is also one of the reasons why Seattle continues to attract major employers and high-level professionals. Strong income potential paired with tax advantages supports long-term housing demand, which helps home values remain resilient over time. So while the upfront cost of buying in Seattle can feel high, the long-term financial picture, especially around taxes, is often more favorable than people initially expect. Seattle is not a new construction-heavy city, and that surprises a lot of buyers. Many homes were built between 1900s to even 1950s, which means character and charm, but also older systems, smaller closets, tighter layouts, and just more maintenance considerations. If you're coming from a market filled with brand new homes, larger lots, just that wide open floor plan, Seattle can feel tight. Square footage is a lot smaller, yards are going to be more compact, and the homes were just designed for a very different era of living. Inventory is also limited, especially in the most desirable neighborhoods. Seattle has natural geographic boundaries and stricter zoning, so supply doesn't expand as quickly. So when a well-priced home in a great location hits the market, it often moves fast. Now, if new construction is important to you, this is where expanding your search area matters. So focusing in places like Bothell, parts of Woodinville, Linwood, or other nearby areas can open up far more options for newer homes, larger layouts, maybe even modern floor plans, often at a better value than Seattle proper. The key is knowing what to prioritize. You have location, you have layout, maybe condition, because most buyers can't get all three without compromising. So once you understand what the trade-off is, it becomes much easier to build a smart search strategy to avoid any frustration. All right, this is where Seattle truly shines. You have mountains, water, forests, parks, trails, lakes, and the Puget Sound all incredibly close to the city. In many places, you don't have to plan an outdoor adventure or excursion. It's just part of your everyday life. So you can finish work and be on a trail, at the lake, or on the water within minutes. Your weekend hikes are not a big production. You can go paddleboarding, skiing, beach walks. They're just all a normal part of your life here, not a once-a-year activity. In the winter, you are so close to the mountains, it's about an hour drive up to Snoqualmie to go snowboarding or even skiing. In the summer, people are on Lake Washington, Lake Union, Puget Sound every single day. And year-round, Seattle parks and green spaces make it so easy to get outside, even if you're just trying to stay close to home. What really sets Seattle apart is that you don't have to choose between nature and city living. You can have a walkable neighborhood, be surrounded by great restaurants, and have that strong job access, but also be surrounded by water, greenery, and our beautiful mountains. So if being outdoors is important to you, but you don't want to give up the urban amenities that you may have, Seattle is hard to beat. It's a city that is built around nature, not separate from it. This one surprises people. Seattle residents are genuinely friendly, polite, and kind, but not always immediately social. So people tend to keep to themselves at first, and it can take a little bit more effort and time to build that community if you're new to the area. So if you're coming from places where neighbors instantly invite you over to strike conversation, everywhere you go, Seattle can feel a bit more reserved at first. It's not that people don't want connection, it's just a quieter, more low-key culture. So that being said, once you find your people, relationships here tend to be deep and long-lasting. Communities often form through shared interests, so through your neighborhoods, gyms, schools, sports teams, hobbies, or even local coffee shops. It's more about consistency than small talk. Seattle isn't unfriendly, it's intentional. So people value personal space, authenticity, and routine. So once you're in, you're really in. So for a lot of people, that slower burn community actually becomes a huge positive over time. It just takes a little bit of patience at the beginning. At the end of the day, people move to Seattle and they stay because the quality of life is genuinely exceptional. You have such a strong, diverse job market, high earning potential here, incredible natural scenery, and the neighborhoods that each offer something different as far as lifestyle goes, and then the no state income tax and access to both urban amenities and the outdoors. It just creates a balance that's hard to replicate in many of the other major cities. From a long-term perspective, Seattle real estate has also strong stability. So even during market shifts, values here tend to hold and recover well because demand is driven by jobs, geography, and limited supply. So yes, there is a trade-off. Housing is more expensive, traffic takes planning, the weather isn't for everyone, but every city has its challenges. But for many buyers, once they understand what living here really looks like and they choose the right neighborhood and strategy, the pros far outweigh the cons. Seattle isn't about perfection, it's about alignment. And for people who value opportunity, lifestyle, and long-term value, it continues to be a place worth putting down roots. Seattle is not for everyone, and that is completely okay, but for the right person at the right stage of life, it can be an incredible place to live. If you found this video helpful and you want to stay in the loop on the Seattle area and our ever-changing real estate market, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow along. That way you'll be the first to know what's really happening here in Seattle and our surrounding suburbs. I'm Keri Konicke, your local Seattle real estate expert, and every day I get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you who are thinking about making a move to Seattle or to one of our beautiful nearby communities. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 9 months, from across the world or just across town, I would love to help make your move exactly what you want it to be. And if you are considering Seattle or anywhere in the surrounding area, it can be very overwhelming. I am happy to help you figure out if it's the right fit for you and your family. Every situation is different, and understanding the neighborhoods, the pricing strategies, commute realities, and the lifestyle differences makes all the difference. So my contact information is below. You can call me, you can text me, schedule a quick call. So until next time though, I look forward to showing you around town.